In a village, there lived a boy whose name was Asim. The village was of simple people, where most earned their living through hard labor. But Asim was different from all of them. He had wealth, a big house, and this very wealth had filled his heart with pride. Asim considered himself better than everyone else. Whenever he sat with his friends, in the name of jokes he would hurt their feelings. If a child appeared in old clothes, Asim would immediately mock him. And if someone didn't have good things, Asim would embarrass him in front of everyone. He considered poor children inferior, as if they had no worth at all. Asim never realized that wealth does not make a person great. Rather, a person's character makes him great. His pride had blinded him, and he had forgotten that words which break hearts can never be taken back. Asim's parents were completely the opposite. Both of them were extremely hardworking, kind-hearted, and simple people. They had worked very hard in their lives, building their business day and night. But even after gaining wealth, pride never entered their tone. They never mocked anyone's poverty. If someone had less, they helped them instead of putting them down. They did not treat their workers as servants, but as a responsibility of their home. They treated them with respect, kindness, and fairness. That is why everyone respected them from the heart, because of their goodness and hard work. Fate was also kind to them. Allah had given them great wealth, big business, lands, and respect. But all of this could not harden their hearts. But time never remains the same. A few years ago, both of them passed away. Their death saddened the entire village, but it affected Asim the most, even though he could not express it. After his parents left, the wealth came into Asim's hands, but their upbringing did not remain alive in his heart. Money increased his arrogance even more. Now Asim began to see himself as the highest and others as inferior. He weighed every person on the scale of money. Whoever had wealth was worthy of respect. After his parents passed away, a man was appointed to handle their business. That man had been associated with the family for years, honest, hardworking, and loyal. He managed the business day and night with complete integrity, kept the accounts clear, and feared Allah in every matter. But unfortunately, Asim, for whom all this was being done, could not value him. Asim spoke to him harshly, sometimes looked at him with suspicion, and sometimes scolded him without reason. Asim had no realization that the man was fulfilling his parents' trust with such honesty. Asim's bad behavior was not limited to home. Even at school his attitude troubled everyone. Most of his friends were hurt by his words and arrogance. Some stopped replying to him, some quietly distanced themselves. But among them was one friend who still considered Asim a true friend from the heart. That friend's name was Ali. Ali always tried to explain things to Asim gently. He used to say, relationships and friendships are not measured with money. Money comes and goes, but good relations and true people are rare. Pride creates hatred in a person's heart. But arrogant Asim did not listen at all. He would even insult Ali in front of everyone. With a mocking smile he would say, "You are poor, that's why you talk like this. You pretend to be good. When you get money, your real face will also come out." Hearing this, Ali's heart would break. He felt deeply hurt, but instead of cursing he would only say, "Remember, it doesn't take long for fate to change." And time was silently preparing to prove this truth. One day, Asim was passing through a street in the village when his eyes fell on a beggar. The beggar's clothes were old, there were signs of fatigue on his face, and a faint hope in his eyes. He softly said, "Son, if possible, arrange one meal for me." The beggar had even raised his hands to pray, but there was no place for mercy in Asim's heart. A look of contempt came on his face. He laughed loudly and said in a harsh tone, "You people can't even afford one meal. And you talk about giving blessings? I don't need your prayers. If you were capable, you wouldn't be begging like this today." The beggar quietly lowered his eyes. His lips trembled slightly, but he did not curse. He just sighed and walked away silently. This scene was ordinary for others, but someone else was also watching. It was the fairy of fate. Her heart filled with sorrow, and anger appeared in her eyes. She said, "All this was because of Asim's father. Asim himself is not worthy of this wealth and respect. Pride has blinded him." She paused for a moment, then said decisively, "Now Asim must be taught a lesson." And at that moment, a new page began to be written in the book of destiny. After a few days, the honest man who had been managing the business came to Asim. There was worry on his face and signs of tiredness in his eyes. Respectfully, he said, "Son, my wife is very ill. I need to go home for a few days to take care of her. Will you allow me?" But Asim, blinded by arrogance, got angry and said harshly, "You're not doing me any favor. You were just working here. Go. Everything will run fine without you. I'll hire someone else." The man remained silent for a moment, looked at Asim, then lowered his head and went back home. After he left, Asim quickly hired a new man. He appeared very clever and well-mannered, but he was not trustworthy. Slowly, he started creating problems in the accounts, sometimes shifting money, sometimes making fake documents. And Asim, asleep in his arrogance, could not see anything. In a short time, the business began to suffer heavy losses. The profit ended. Losses kept increasing, and debts kept piling up. The situation became so bad that Asim had to sell his lands to repay debts. The same lands that were once a sign of his parents' hard work. But surprisingly, even after all this, Asim's arrogance did not decrease. He still considered himself the greatest. At school, his behavior became even worse. He started disrespecting teachers, interrupting them, and showing off his wealth. Far away, the fairy of fate was watching all this. She took a deep breath and said softly, "Even now Asim has not changed. The rope is still loose. It needs to be tightened more. Only then will he realize the truth." And thus, destiny began preparing another tough test for him. Despite the losses, Asim still had enough money and jewelry at home. There was so much wealth that he could live comfortably for years without working. But his pride was still deep in his heart. One day, suddenly, a theft took place in his house. The thieves took everything: money, jewelry, and valuable items. Seeing this, Asim became a little worried, but his pride did not let him feel too scared or broken. At that time, the same friend Ali came to him. He said sincerely, "Don't worry, I'm with you. Everything will be fine." But instead of thanking him, Asim insulted him again and said, "I don't need poor people like you. Everything will run fine without you." This scene was very painful for the fairy of fate. She was watching everything and thinking, even after all this, Asim's pride has not broken. He still has not learned his lesson. There was disappointment in her eyes, but she knew that the time of the lesson was near, and time itself would make Asim realize his mistakes. A few days later, such an incident happened that changed Asim's world completely. Suddenly, a fire broke out in the house. Flames and smoke spread everywhere. No one understood how it started. Everything turned to ashes. The house burned down and became ruins. Asim was extremely troubled. After the fire, the same true friend came to him. Ali not only gave him courage, but took him to his own home and introduced him to his mother. With a loving voice, Ali said, "This is my friend, and from today he is my brother. He will live here now. Whatever is mine is yours too. My home, my mother, everything. We are brothers now. Don't worry at all, you are not alone." Now the arrogant Asim began to cry. There were tears in his eyes and regret in his heart. He felt ashamed of his pride, and slowly he began to speak.